This video is going to serve as the official video documentation for my Unreal Engine Footstep sound effects system. This video is not meant to be a showcase of the system, but rather an instructional video on how to implement and tweak the system to best fit your needs. I would recommend watching the showcase video first if you're unaware of the system. This section provides an introduction to the setup process for the Footstep SFX system, ensuring it's ready to use in your project. The initial setup involves preparing your project for the system by configuring necessary settings and integrating the component within your characters. The system is designed to be flexible and user-friendly, requiring minimal setup to function right out of the box. Whether you're working on a prototype or a polished project, this guide will walk you through the steps to get the system up and running. For users seeking to unlock its full potential, later sections will provide detailed instructions on setting up Animation Notifies and fine-tuning the system for immersive, high-quality footstep sound effects. By the end of this section, you'll have a clear understanding of the setup process and how the Footstep SFX system can seamlessly integrate into your project, saving you time and effort while delivering outstanding results. If you are starting a new project using this system as a template, the default engine.ini file will already include the correct physical surface settings, and no further action is required unless you plan on adding additional physical surfaces. However, if you are migrating the system into an existing project, you will need to manually add these settings to avoid blueprint compilation errors in the AC Footstep SFX component. This section explains how to implement the correct physical surface settings. There are two ways to add these settings into your project. The first would be to open the default engine.ini file, and you're going to search for the heading Script Engine Physics Settings. Now, if it's a new project and you don't have any physical surface settings set up, you may not even see this in your file. So what you'd do is just come to the documentation here, copy this, and then just add it at the top of your file. And then we're going to come down here and add our surfaces. Now we save, and you're good to go. The second way you could do this is in Engine. If you navigate to Edit, Project Settings, underneath Engine, if you look for Physics, and then scroll down to Physical Surfaces, you'll see all the options here that you could add. Now, by default, I put them in at the bottom, as in your existing projects, you may already have physical surfaces set up, so I don't want to override those. You could put these wherever you like, but I put them at the bottom for this purpose. You would just come in, add your new surface here, or add these ones in, and you're good to go. So those are the two ways to do that. Adding the component to your character. Adding the component to your character is as simple as opening up your character blueprint. Under the Components tab, you're going to select Add, and then search SFX. And the component you're looking for is AC_Footstep SFX. The Footstep SFX component is highly customizable, allowing you to adapt its functionality to suit the unique requirements of your project. This section provides an introduction to the range of settings and features you can adjust to optimize the system. These settings can be found in the Custom category on the Actor component. In the following subsections, we'll be taking a look at Automatic versus Standard mode, understanding the differences and when to use each mode, walking and running retriggering rates and max running speed, adjusting retrigger rates to suit your character's movement speed. Animation Notifies, using Animation Notifies to precisely synchronize footstep sounds with character animations. Functionality settings, exploring default, custom, and dual functionality modes. Audio spawn modes, choosing how and where the audio is spawned in your project. Volume multipliers, controlling the volume of footstep sounds for dynamic effects. utilizing custom SFX, replacing or adding your own unique footstep sounds, and finally, customizing curve floats, adjusting the crossfade values between walking and running states. This section explains the differences between automatic mode and standard mode in the Footstep SFX component, helping you decide which mode best fits your project's needs. Each mode has unique strengths, making the system adaptable for both quick setups and highly polished implementations. Automatic mode. Automatic mode is designed for simplicity and efficiency, automatically triggering footstep sounds based on your character's movement without requiring animation notifies. This mode is ideal for prototyping, quickly setting up footstep audio without investing time in precise configurations, first-person characters, suitable for basic character setups, projects where animation timing is less critical, or those without animations, and basic AI characters, where it guarantees footstep audio for NPCs even without dedicated animations or notifies. Automatic mode uses retriggering logic based on movement states, walking and running, to generate footstep sounds at appropriate intervals, offering a quick and effective solution for most use cases. While it does not require animation notify setup, it relies on automatic walk and run rates and max running speed settings to ensure realistic audio timing. These settings will be explained in detail in section 2.2. Standard mode. Standard mode provides precise control over footstep audio by utilizing animation notifies. This mode is ideal for polished projects, ensuring footstep sounds align perfectly with character animations, custom animation sequences, useful when working with complex animations or bespoke footstep timing requirements, and advanced audio design, allowing you to fine-tune audio playback for immersive high-quality results. By placing animation notifies directly within your character's animation sequences, standard mode ensures that your footstep sounds are triggered exactly when the foot contacts the ground, creating a more natural and immersive experience. Choosing the right mode. Your choice between automatic and standard mode will depend on your project's requirements. Use automatic mode for quick setups, prototyping, first-person characters, or AI characters where precision is less critical. Use standard mode for more detailed, polished results that require synchronization with character animations. In general, I like to use standard mode for third-person characters, and if you're using a first-person character or just prototyping things, automatic mode works fine. Automatic and standard mode can be toggled via this Boolean switch right here. When selected, it will just retrigger the footstep sounds. When we turn this off, it will look for animation notifies, or rather wait for animation notifies to call the footstep sounds. Currently, I have both set up in this project. So I have the animation notifies set up in the animations, but if I set this to automatic, it won't actually use those. It will just retrigger the sounds automatically. So right now the sounds are not being triggered via animation notify, and we can actually verify this by visualizing the audio. When in automatic mode, it spawns the audio at the character's root component. So you can see the audio spawning right in between the character's legs. If we go into standard mode, it will begin to use the animation notifies, which specify the footstep sockets. So we will see the audio spawn at the actual footstep locations. Ooh, let's turn this on. We could also spawn the audio attached, which will be covered later on. And now the audio follows our character. We'll talk more about this later. This section explains how to configure walking and running retriggering rates and max running speed settings in the automatic mode. These settings determine the timing of footstep sounds, ensuring they align with the character's movement speed for a natural immersive experience. While retriggering configurations are exclusive to automatic mode and ignored in standard mode, the max running speed setting is used in both modes. What are walking, running, retriggering rates? As seen right here. The walk rate defines the interval between footstep sounds when the character is walking, and the run rate defines the interval between footstep sounds when the character is running. These rates are critical to achieving realistic audio timing, especially for characters with variable movement speeds. What is the max running speed? Max running speed is used to distinguish between walking and running states. It sets the threshold at which the system switches from the walk rate to the run rate for triggering footstep sounds and determining whether to play the walking or running sound systems. Ensure that this value matches your character's maximum running speed regardless of the mode you're using. So in this case, our character component is set up to have a max walk speed of 200, but if we press shift, that increases to 500. So when we're running, our max speed is 500. That means we want to make sure that that setting is set to 500. Now, when it's set to 500, it will, when we're running at that speed, the system will use the run rate retriggering speed. And if we drop below that, it will use the walk rate. And we can adjust and fine tune this to get different speeds. If I decide to change the running speed from 500 to, let's say, 400, you'll notice our footstep sound effects will start to go out of sync when we start running. Not in sync. The fix to that is to make sure that the max running speed equals our max running speed. If we're going to be running at 400, we want that set to 400, not 500. So the fix is to just adjust that. And we're back in business. This section provides a detailed guide on setting up and using the included Animation Notify blueprint in your character animations while using standard mode. Animation Notifies allow you to precisely trigger footstep sounds in sync with your character's animations, ensuring a natural and immersive audio experience. Additionally, this section will cover the customizable settings available within the Animation Notify blueprint, allowing you to tailor its behavior to meet the specific needs of your project. By integrating these notifies, you can achieve precise footstep timing and enhance the overall polish of your character's animations. Begin by opening the animation you want to set up footstep notifies for. It's recommended to create a new notify track specifically for footsteps. Once the track is created, right-click on it, hover over the Add Notify option, and select the notify blueprint named AN Footstep from the drop-down menu. That will add a new animation notify to your track. I'm going to delete this one since I already have this animation set up. At this point though, you can align them with your character's footsteps whenever your character's foot makes contact with the ground. For additional footsteps, you can copy and paste the notifies along the track as needed to match the animation sequence. And this process ensures precise footstep timing, enhancing the realism and immersion of your character's movements. One other recommendation, I would recommend switching this to branching mode. So under category event, montage tick type, we're going to change it from queued to branching point. And that assures that it's always triggered at the precise time. So I would make sure that all your footstep animation notifies are branching point. When you select an animation notify, in the details panel, you'll notice 3 instance editable variables that control its behavior: footstep socket, addition SFX, and jump land. Footstep socket is a variable string that specifies the name of a skeleton bone or socket where the footstep line trace begins. If the spawned attached setting in the Footstep SFX component is enabled, this will also be where the audio is spawned attached to. For projects using the provided Unreal Engine skeletons, set this to foot_L or foot_R. As seen in the skeleton tree, foot L, foot R, as those are our foot sockets. If you're using a custom skeleton with different bone names, update this variable with the appropriate names for the feet. Audition SFX. This variable is used to test the timing of footstep sounds directly in the animation editor. The Notify blueprint requires data such as surface material and player speed to determine which sounds to play during runtime, which makes it impossible to hear the correct sound or any sound in the editor. To address this, the Audition SFX variable allows you to select an audio file to audition the placement of your Footstep Notifies in the animation editor. This selected sound will only play in the animation editor and will not be used during runtime. During runtime, the system will ignore the Audition SFX and play the appropriate sound based on surface material or the custom Footstep SFX selected in the blueprint component. Jump land. The jump land Boolean variable is used for animations involving a jump or landing after a fall. A jump refers to smaller jumps such as jumping in place, and a land refers to larger landings such as falling off a high surface. The system automatically differentiates between the two using player velocity, but you must set this variable to true for landing animations to help the system identify these specific actions. For walk or run animations, leave this variable set to false. Only enable this variable when the animation represents landing after a jump or a fall. For example, the land animation. We have that set to true. By correctly setting these variables, you can fine-tune the behavior of the Animation Notify blueprint and ensure your footstep audio is aligned with your animations for a polished and immersive experience. This section explains the different functionality settings of the Footstep SFX component, including default functionality, custom one-way, custom two-way, custom four-way, and dual functionality. These settings allow you to customize how footstep sounds are triggered and tailored for different characters and scenarios. Functionality modes. The functionality modes can be accessed from the Footstep SFX component by navigating down to the functionality enum and selecting your desired mode. Default functionality. Default functionality uses the physical surface settings, concrete, grass, water, snow, to determine which sounds to play. Custom one-way. Custom one-way allows you to provide a single custom footstep sound effects system to be used for walking, running, jumping, and landing events. This is ideal for when you have only one sound system available, for example, a single walking system without separate running, jumping, and landing systems. Custom two-way. Custom two-way enables separate custom sound systems for walking, jumping, and running, landing. This is useful when you have two separate sound systems available, walking and running sounds, but no jumping or landing sounds. In this case, the walking sound will be used for walking events and jumping events, and the running sounds will be used for running events and heavy landing events. Custom four-way. Custom four-way provides full customization by allowing unique sounds for walking events, running events, jumping events, and landing events. These custom settings are designed for character-specific sounds, not additional physical surfaces, which we will get more to later. The dual functionality option allows you to combine custom character sounds with physical surface sounds. This is useful when you want character-specific sounds, for example, heavy monster footsteps, to play alongside surface-specific sounds, like snow crunching or water splashing. For example, a character with custom sounds might run through shallow water or snow. Dual functionality ensures that both the character-specific sounds and the corresponding physical surface sounds are played simultaneously, enhancing the audio experience. To enable dual functionality, select the desired type of custom functionality. For example, let's go with custom one-way, And then we want to toggle the dual functionality boolean to true. These functionality settings provide flexibility for designing footstep sounds tailored to your project's unique needs. Whether you need default physical surface sounds, character-specific audio, or a combination of both, the Footstep SFX component makes it easy to achieve immersive and dynamic audio for your characters. This section explains how to use the spawn attached variable in the Footstep SFX component. This setting determines how and where footstep sounds are spawned during gameplay. By adjusting this variable, you can control whether the audio is dynamically linked to the character following their movement, or whether it remains stationary at the location where the footstep occurred. The choice between attaching footstep sounds to the character or spawning them at the line trace location can significantly impact how the audio interacts with your environment, especially in maps with complex audio setups. Understanding this setting is essential for achieving seamless and immersive sound design tailored to your project's needs. Now let's explore how the spawn attached variable works in different modes and when it's most beneficial to use. When spawn attached is set to true, the footstep sounds are attached to the character and follow them for the duration of the audio playback. In standard mode, the audio is spawned attached to the sockets specified in the Animation Notify. And in automatic mode, the audio is attached to the character's root component. When we set spawn attached to false, the footstep sounds are spawned at the line trace location and remain stationary, not following the character. Currently, we are set to automatic mode, which means we're not utilizing the Animation Notifies, but rather using automatic retriggering rates, which means that the footstep sounds are being spawned at the character's root component instead of the sockets. We also have spawn attached turned to false, which means that the footstep sounds are being spawned at their initial location and remaining there, not following the player character. Let's visualize the audio. And as we move throughout the scene, we can see those footstep sounds being spawned at the root component and remaining stationary, not following the character. If we toggle spawn attached, we'll now see that those sounds are following our character as we move. If we go ahead and turn off automatic mode and use standard mode instead, we will now utilize the Animation Notifies, which provide footstep sockets. So those sound locations will be spawned at the actual footstep locations. So let's take a look at that. We'll visualize audio. And we currently have spawn attached turned off. So notice that the sounds are staying where they are spawned. But if we toggle spawn attached and start running, those sounds will remain attached to the footstep sockets for the duration of playback. The spawn attached variable can be found in the Footstep SFX component right here. By selecting that to true, they will spawn attached to the character. By leaving it false, it will spawn at the location that it was triggered at. You can also toggle this setting in the demo map via the 3 key, just for demonstration purposes to test it out. When to use spawn attached. Using spawn attached is helpful in scenarios where your map contains multiple audio volumes and you want the footstep sounds to be influenced by those volumes. For example, imagine an audio volume that applies reverb inside of a cave and reduces external sounds. If spawn attached is set to false, a footstep sound spawned just outside the cave may be attenuated or cut off when the character enters the cave, as it remains outside the audio volume. By setting spawn attached to true, the footstep sound follows the character into the cave, ensuring it is affected by the cave's audio volume settings and avoiding abrupt audio culling. General recommendations. In most cases, this setting can be left off. However, if your project utilizes multiple audio volumes and your footstep sound class is set to apply ambient volumes, consider enabling spawn attached to true to ensure smooth and uninterrupted audio transitions when the character moves between audio volumes. By understanding and configuring this setting, you can ensure your footstep audio behaves naturally and integrates seamlessly in your game's environment. This section explains how to use the default volume multiplier and the custom volume multiplier settings in the Footstep SFX component. These settings allow you to control the overall footstep volume for individual characters and fine-tune the balance between physical surface sounds and custom sounds when using dual functionality. Default volume multiplier. Default volume multiplier serves as the master volume control for physical surface footstep sounds, concrete, grass, water. The custom volume multiplier acts as a master volume control for the custom footstep sounds when using custom one-way, two-way, or four-way. Key features and benefits. Per character volume control. These multipliers enable you to adjust the footstep volume for each character individually directly from their Footstep SFX component. This is especially useful in projects with multiple characters that may require different audio profiles. For example, a large, heavy character might need louder, more impactful footsteps, and a stealthy character may require quieter footsteps. Balancing dual functionality. In dual functionality mode, the volume multipliers allow you to mix custom character sounds with physical surface sounds to achieve the desired balance. For instance, if the physical surface sounds, for example the snow crunching or water splashing, are too prominent compared to the custom character sounds, the deep monster footsteps, you can reduce the default volume multiplier or increase the custom volume multiplier to create a better mix. Efficient sound design. By adjusting these multipliers, you can quickly tweak audio levels without needing to modify individual sound assets or global volume settings. This flexibility ensures efficient sound design workflows and precise audio control. By leveraging these settings, you can ensure your project delivers a tailored and immersive audio experience for every character and environment. This section explains how to apply custom character-specific footstep sounds to your character using the Footstep SFX component. These custom sounds are intended to provide unique audio profiles for specific characters, such as a large monster with heavy footsteps, rather than additional physical surface sounds, which we'll be covering more later. Setting up custom SFX. Navigate to the custom category. Select your character's AC Footstep SFX component and locate the custom category in the component properties. You'll find 4 editable variables: Walk SFX, Run SFX, Jump SFX, and Land SFX. These will be used for custom walk sounds, custom running sounds, custom jumping sounds, and custom landing sounds. Select a functionality mode. Under the functionality settings, change the mode from default physical surfaces to one of the custom modes. Custom one-way requires only the Walk SFX variable be set. In this case, the sound system you place here will be used for all walking, running, jumping, and landing events. Custom two-way requires the Walk SFX and Run SFX variables to be set. In this case, the Walk sound system will be used for walking and jumping events, and the Run sound system will be used for running and landing events. Custom four-way requires each sound variable to be set, and in this case, each sound system will be played based on the corresponding action. Benefits of custom SFX. Using character sounds. Custom SFX allow you to create distinctive footstep profiles for characters with unique movement styles or weights, such as heavy monsters, robotic enemies, or stealthy protagonists. Flexible audio design. Whether you have a single sound system or a full set of custom sounds, the different custom functionality modes, one-way, two-way, four-way, adapt to your available audio resources. Custom one-way is ideal for minimal sound resources, and custom two-way and four-way provide more granular control for diverse audio needs. Quick integration. Setting up custom sounds is straightforward and requires no changes to the underlying system logic. For added depth, consider enabling dual functionality to mix custom character sounds with physical surface sounds. By following these steps, you can easily integrate custom footstep sounds for your characters, creating a more engaging and tailored audio experience for your players. Let's run through setting up custom SFX for one of our characters. So currently, we're using the default physical surfaces mode. So when we run, we will use whatever physical surfaces are underneath us. If we change this to custom one way, whatever we set here will be used for all events. So let's use the click on button cue. Now, no matter what we do, we will always have these custom SFX. This is ideal if we only have one sound system available that we want to use for a specific character. We can also enable dual functionality, and what we'll hear is the custom SFX along with the surface materials. Okay, let's further take a look at this system. So we'll turn off dual functionality for now. If we set up custom two-way, we will now need to add another run SFX. So let's change these systems a little bit. Let's have it when we're walking. We're going to use our concrete sounds. And when we're running, we're going to use our water sounds. Now, ideally, you would have your own custom system set up. I don't have any other sounds available at the moment, so I'm going to just demonstrate it using these available sounds that I already do have. And what we'll notice is when we walk, it will use the concrete sounds, but when we run, it will shift to the water sounds. Okay. Light jumps will also use the walking sound, and heavier jumps will use the running sound. If we set this to custom four-way, we need to set all these variables. So we'll have separate sounds for our jumps and our lands. So let's add those in right now. Let's go with our grass cue for jumping sounds. And for landing, let's use metal. So now when we walk, we'll hear concrete. When we run, we'll hear water. When we jump, we'll hear the grass. When we land, we'll hear metal. Now, ideally, you obviously wouldn't use these sounds for this, but if you had your own custom SFX for a specific character, you can design separate sound systems for when they're walking, running, jumping, and landing, and then use them all together with this. If you only have two, this works too. You just leave these ones out and you could use walking, running, and if you only have one, all you got to do is set the one. You just got to make sure your functionality mode is set correctly, and the system will adapt to your available resources. This section explains how float curves are used to dynamically crossfade between walking running sounds and jumping landing sounds, ensuring smooth transitions based on character movement. By understanding and customizing these curves, you can fine-tune how footstep sounds blend together for a more immersive audio experience. How float curves work. The system uses the character's velocity to determine the appropriate volume levels for different footstep sounds. Here's how it works. The character's velocity is normalized to a range between 0 and the character's max running speed. The normalized value is then clamped to a range of 0 to 1. This clamped range is fed into a float curve, which outputs a corresponding volume level. The output value from the curve determines the volume of the footstep sound to be played. Both walking, running, and jumping landing sounds are triggered simultaneously, but their volumes are adjusted based on the float curve settings, creating a natural crossfade effect. For example, at lower speeds, the float curve may prioritize walking or jumping sounds. At higher speeds, they may shift focus to running or landing sounds. Customizing float curves. While the default float curves are designed to work well for most scenarios, you can customize them to achieve specific effects. Adjust sound emphasis. Modify the curve to increase or decrease the volume of certain sounds, for example, more emphasis on running at higher speeds. Create unique audio profiles. Design custom curves for different characters to reflect their unique movement styles. To customize the curves, open the AC Footstep SFX component blueprint. Locate the float curve variables for both the default and custom sounds. So under variables, if we open up curve floats, we can see all the variables for the walking, running, jumping, and landings. And also we have the same thing for our custom sounds. So we can have separate curves for our custom sounds versus the default sounds. Currently, the custom sounds are set up to use the same float curves. If we open in the content browser, we can find our curves right here. And this is what they look like. So when we have an input value of 0.4, we will be exporting the value 0.5, and that's the volume the footstep sounds will be playing at. Now, as our character, because this is the walk curve, so as the character starts running, this value becomes lower, and by the time we hit full running speed, we won't hear any walking sounds. If we open up the run curve, it'll be the opposite. At lower values, we don't hear any audio, but as we start to run more and build up velocity, we will hear full running sounds. This provides a seamless crossfade between walking and running. Same thing for jumping and landing. If you're going to create your own curves, I would recommend not adjusting these. What I would do is duplicate them, create your own, and then apply them in your component. If you would like to use custom curves for separate characters, what you want to do is come to the variables in your AC Footstep SFX component and set private to false. Currently, I have it set to private because in most cases, you won't need to be adjusting these, and I don't recommend adjusting them unless you know what you're doing. But that being said, if you'd like to have custom separate curves for each character, come set this to false, and you'll be able to access these values right from your character's component. This section provides an overview of how to expand the Footstep SFX system by creating and integrating new sounds into your project. It outlines the steps for developing additional sound systems for custom physical surfaces, adding those surfaces to your project, and leveraging the provided Metasound templates to enhance your audio design. You will learn how to define and configure new physical surfaces to ensure the system recognizes them, and how to assign custom sound systems tailored to these surfaces. This section will also introduce the Metasound templates included with the system, which offer a flexible and modular approach to creating dynamic and immersive soundscapes. Whether you are adding entirely new environments with unique materials like mud or ice, or designing sound systems that respond dynamically to gameplay scenarios, this section will guide you through the process of expanding and customizing your project's footstep audio. The following subsections will break down each topic in detail, providing clear instructions and best practices for defining and adding new physical surfaces, using and customizing Metasound templates, assigning additional sound systems for custom surfaces. By the end of this section, you'll have all the tools and knowledge to expand the Footstep SFX system and create a richer, more tailored audio experience for your game. This section explains how to define new physical surfaces, create corresponding physical material assets, and synchronize them to ensure proper functionality within the Footstep SFX system. Adding new physical surfaces. You can add new physical surfaces to your project using one of two methods. The first being inside the default engine.ini file. In the same spot we set up our physical surfaces initially, we can create a new line, copy and paste, and just change the surface type number along with the name of the surface type. We'll change this to 54 and we'll name this mud. And then save. The other option is by navigating to Edit, Project Settings. Under Engine, we're going to look for Physics. And then we're going to scroll down to Physical Surfaces. Now I've put these in at the bottom, so we'll come down to 54 and change this to mud. Easy as that. Creating and linking physical material assets. To create a new physical material asset, we want to right-click in the content browser. Under Physics, we're going to select Physical Material. We're going to name this PM_mud. Then we want to double-click on it, and under Physical Properties, Surface Type, we want to link it to our new physical material or new physical surface that we created in our settings, in this case, mud. Now those are officially linked up. We can then apply that physical material in any material or even a mesh. In this case, let's select my logo here. We're going to come down to Physical Material Override and we're going to select mud. And we're going to assign that. Now whenever we walk over top of this surface, our component will recognize this as mud and will play whatever corresponding mud sound effect system we have synced up to it. This section explains how to utilize the included Metasound templates to create and customize your own Footstep sound systems. The templates provide powerful tools for building dynamic and flexible audio setups directly within the engine, offering extensive control over pitch, volume, and layering. They also have the included sound class and attenuation assets already assigned. Included Metasound systems and templates. The Footstep SFX system includes 2 Metasound systems and 2 Metasound templates. Metasound systems. Random one-shot function. Plays a random one-shot sound from an array of audio files. Layered one-shot function. Plays multiple sound layers simultaneously with independent control over each layer. These systems are core functions used by other Metasounds and should not be modified. Metasound templates. MSFS template. A template based on the random one-shot function. MSFS layered template. A template that combines up to 4 sound layers, each with independent controls. So here I am in the MSFS template, and we have a MS random one-shot node with a built-in audio array already assigned. Currently the audio array is empty, but all you have to do is select your audio wave files and drag and drop them. Now the system will automatically recognize them. And if we hit play, it will randomly choose between them. We can also adjust the minimum and maximum pitch variation, the minimum and maximum volume variation, and we can even mess with the minimum and maximum time delay. We don't usually use this in the standard footsteps, but it comes more in handy in the layered approach when we want to layer in separate sounds. We can also create a weight variable and assign custom weight values to each index value. So these index values correspond to the indexes in the audio array, and we could set the value for how likely it is that we want something to be played. The higher the value, the more likely that sound will be played versus the other sounds. Here I am in the MSFS layered template. As we can already see, this one's a little bit more comprehensive than the last one, but you can imagine it as being 4 of the other templates all in one. So as we zoom in, we could see the same settings we had in the previous Metasound, but we have it for 4 different layers. So Footstep layer 1, layer 2, layer 3, layer 4, and these are all audio arrays that we can assign separate layers to. So if the way these work is you click on them and you have to override the inherited default value. And then after you do that, we can drag and drop our assets into there. So if we head to audio, let's go to concrete, run, and we'll add our running sounds in there. So now when we hit play, we'll hear our running sounds. Now we have a master volume for each layer. We have a pitch min and max for each layer. So there's layer 1, layer 2's down there, layer 3. It's over here, so on and so forth. We also have time min and max for each layer and volume min and max for each layer. So we can independently adjust the randomization for each layer, and then we have master volume controls for each layer. So the way this is set up is we have the audio arrays for every layer and the master volume for every layer right up at the front. And then we go layer by layer for the randomization. So layer 1, pitch, time, volume. Layer 2, pitch, time, volume, all the way down to layer 4. We don't have to use all 4 layers. You could just use 2, 3, or 4. Let's add an additional layer right now. So currently we just have concrete. Let's add some water sounds. So imagine you have a light, shallow pool of water, but underneath it concrete. What we could do is right here in the engine, create these custom sound systems. So let's navigate to our water folder. Let's grab our run sounds. And now we should hear a combination of the two. Okay, but the water seems to be overpowering. So let's head to the master volume for layer 2. We're going to override the default value, and we're going to pull this back a little bit. A little bit more. Let's bring layer 1 up. So currently layer 1 is at the max. I can't go any further. So what we could do in this case is come down to range and increase our range. So the range is currently 0 to 1. Let's set that to 2. And now I can come a little bit beyond 1. Okay, a little bit lower on the water. Okay, that's a lot better. Okay, if I want more independent control, I can also mess with the minimum and maximum pitch settings and volume settings and time delay for each layer, allowing very, very in-depth editing, all within the engine. Again, we don't have to use all 4 layers right now. I'm just using the 2. If I want to use the 3rd, I just come and override the default variable and add in my sounds. This section explains how to assign newly created sound systems for custom physical surfaces to the Footstep SFX component. By completing this setup, the system will recognize and utilize your custom audio assets for specific surfaces, enhancing the depth and customization of your game's audio. Assigning sound systems to physical surfaces. Open up the AC Footstep SFX blueprint component. Under Functions, expand the Data category and open up the Footstep SFX function. Inside here, you'll see 4 select nodes for walking, jumping, running, and landing. Each select node contains all the different physical materials in your system. If you add a new physical material and it doesn't show up here, you may need to refresh the nodes. Notice we added the mud physical surface before, but we do not see it here. We right-click and refresh the node, it will then show up. So let's refresh all our select nodes. And I currently don't have a mud system, but let's add in the button cue. So whenever we walk on mud, we're going to hear that cue. Notice I only have the one sound system and I can use it for all walking, jumping, running, and landing events. But if you have separate cues, you can differentiate them by event by separating them in these different select nodes. As you may remember, we set up this logo to have the mud physical material. So now, whenever we walk over top of this, we're going to hear that button cue. Let's test it out. By assigning your custom sound systems to the Footstep SFX component, you unlock the full potential of your game's audio design, enabling tailored soundscapes for any physical surface in your project. This section explains how to use the controls displayed on the player HUD. These controls are provided as part of the demo to help showcase the capabilities of the Footstep SFX system. While not integral to the core functionality of the system, they are useful for testing and demonstrating specific features during development. To run, simply hold Shift. To solo footstep sounds, press 1. To visualize audio, press 2. To toggle between audio spawned attached or not attached to your footsteps, press 3. So right now they're attached to the sockets, and now they're not. And pressing 4 will despawn or spawn enemy AI. So right now we have this AI guy here. We'll press 4 and he'll despawn. And if we press it again, another one will spawn at the player start location. If we press it again, he'll disappear. And that just basically toggles the enemy spawning. If you have any further questions, you can join our Discord and ask me there, or you could send me an email at contact@jsxstudios.com. Thank you for purchasing the system.